What the flip is up, you guys? Happy Saturday, or whatever day you're watching this. Let's just start it off by saying this. I have minimal functioning brain cells at this point. I would say that everything that is probably about to come out of my mouth is not based off of too much thought. It's honestly just top of the dome, all right? And the reasoning for that is because I've had the travel day, 24 hours, from absolute hell. Hell. Okay? Awful. I've never honestly had a bad travel experience before. Because my whole life, I've traveled with my parents and my dad and my stepmom. They're pretty responsible. They just take care of things. If things go wrong, it's taken care of. I'm used to kind of being the backseat traveler. I would say that you could classify me as that. I'm a backseat traveler. If I'm with my friends, I feel the responsibility tends to kind of fall on them. And it's here and there, I'll pick up the slack where I need, but it's never been fully on me. This travel catastrophe was all on me, all on my own shoulders, because I took a separate flight from Canada home than my roommate did. Because, long story, we accidentally booked different flights. So, it starts out by my flight getting delayed out of Canada. I love to call Canada Canada. Got delayed, so we set off a little bit later, but I wasn't really worried because I had a pretty good sized layover in San Francisco. But then, when we went to land in San Francisco, there was a windstorm, and so when we came into land, we were about to miss the runway, and so we had to pull up last minute and then go fly around for 30 more minutes and then try again. It was one of those things. And, the moment that we were about to land and then we back up to the sky, I was like, well, shit. This is going to make it tight, and not tight in a fun way. No. Tight in a bad way. So eventually we land, and the pilot comes on over the intercom, and he's like, all right, guys, we have some really tight connections here, 20-minute type of tight connections. So if somebody presses their call button, let them leave first, right? Obviously, I push my call button to let everyone know I have 20 minutes to get to the fucking gate for San Diego. Yep, no, everyone was relatively inconsiderate. So they didn't let any of us pass, which is fine. So I get off the plane, and one of my shoes is untied. But I'm like, you know what? Fuck it up. I am going to pull a Good Luck Charlie Christmas vacation. I'm going to run through this airport. I've never once in my life ran through a fucking airport before. Usually, I see the people running in the airport, and I'm like, oh my god, what are they so stressed about? I never understood until yesterday. So, I'm sprinting through the airport, trying to find my gate. Tell me why two terminals could be so far from one another, right? Shoes still untied. So whatever. I run. This is where it really gets good. So my gate was E5. So I see E5 for some reason when I thought was E5. And I noticed they're still boarding, but they're boarding group 2. So I'm like, fuck yes. I have time to go pee. Thank God, because I have the smallest bladder out of anyone I've ever met in my entire life. Okay? I literally pee every 30 minutes, and I'm not kidding. So I go pee, I go back to the gate, and then the person in front of me, who was on the same flight from Canada, is checking in, and the lady was like, oh, you're at the wrong gate. And I'm listening, my ears perk up. I'm like, what the fuck? She's like, gate 5 is right there. It was the gate that was completely empty with the door closed. And I was like, fuck. Never have I ever missed a flight before. And I think it would have been really shitty if it were my fault, which it kind of was, because I thought that I had time to go pee. So cute of me. So then, whatever, went up to the desk, and the lady was like, she wasn't very nice. I'm going to be so honest with you. United Airlines, you might have honestly lost a customer after that, because it was awful. The lady wasn't very nice to me, and it wasn't even my fault, really. We landed super late, and she was about to just send me on my way. But I was like, wait a second, don't you have to rebook me and get me a hotel? And she was like, well, why are you late? And I was like, well, because we landed late. And then she was like, okay, yeah, I guess. Whatever. Then she books me a hotel. And then I'm like, fuck, wait. do I have to Uber there by myself? This is where backseat Haley comes into effect. The backseat Traver. Fuck. What? What did I just say? The backseat traveler part of me was like, well, how the fuck am I going to get to the hotel? I don't want to Uber. I hate Ubering. I don't know what it is that I have against Uber. I think Uber is a waste of money. I hate it. I don't want to support them. I don't like it. Fuck Uber. I am Uber's biggest hater for no reason. So whenever I go out with my friends, they always get the Ubers, and then I just Venmo them because, like, I hate it. I hate it so much. And so I saw that there was a hotel shuttle bus from the airport. And so I'm like, you know what? Yeah, hell yeah. I'm going to take an adventure on the shuttle bus. But then it's just me at midnight standing outside of the San Francisco airport next to the Tweakers waiting for the shuttle buses. And I was like, well, I don't really know how safe this is. So then I look up Ubers. It was literally $50 to go 1 mile. And, like, I know I made it harder on myself for not doing it, but I was like, there's no fucking way I'm paying $50 to go 1 mile when, like, I could walk if it were safe enough, but it definitely wasn't safe enough. So instead, I was just standing on the side of the road, really, really stressed out, freaking out. Eventually, whatever, after like 45 minutes, the right shuttle bus came. They sent me on my way to the hotel. The hotel was really kind to me. And then I Uber Eats Taco Bell. And I got a Crunchwrap Supreme, Cinnabon Delights, and what else? A Baja Blast Freeze, right? And then I watched some Emma Chamberlain on YouTube. Felt a lot better, okay? So at this point, I was like, wow, like, that was the shittiest traveling experience I've ever had. But everything all worked out. I ended up safe in a hotel. I'm okay. I'm going to get on the next flight tomorrow morning. So fast forward, it's this morning. I wake up at the ass crack of dawn, get there early to the hotel. I get there early to the airport. I show up. I'm feeling good. I'm back, baby. You know? I'm like, I'm reclaiming this shitty travel day, and it's all going to be fixed because I'm going to go and land into San Diego and go home and just be a happy little camper back in my house, okay? Well, kind of. I get into San Diego, and all of my friends are busy working their jobs, and so none of them can pick me up, so I have to take an Uber. Do you see? Guys, fuck Uber. Let me just say that. Actually, and let me, while we're at it, just say, I'm actually not allowed to have an Uber for some reason. Whenever I try to make an account, they deny me, so fuck Uber for that, but this was actually Lyft, alright? Lyft and I have beef after today. And I'm going to explain why. And you guys can decide if this is justified or if I'm being irrational. But longest travel day of my life, literally over 24 hours, just to go like 6 hours. Like a 6-hour hop skip across the pond. 24 hours later, I'm cooked. I'm so emotionally exhausted. I was so scared. I was exhausted. So whatever. My Lyft comes. Seems normal, get in the car, and we're driving. And, I ask the usual Lyft, Uber question. I go, so how long have you been working for today? Like, what time did you get started? And he just, looks at me through his sunglasses in the rearview mirror, and he goes, well, I usually don't share that for safety purposes. And then I was like, oh, yeah, no, I totally understand safety issues. I dealt with a stalker this year. I completely understand, you don't have to share any information. So then I just sit back in my seat and I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna no thought bubble this all the way to my car. We don't have to talk, safe space. But then he proceeds to talk. And he is telling me basically that he works for the government and that he writes speeches for Donald Trump, and he writes the executive orders for Donald Trump, and the police and the ambulances follow him around everywhere, and he's dating Kendall Jenner, and he's best friends with Justin Bieber, and Bad Bunny tried to fight him. And in my head, I am like, okay, I think this man either A, has to be the funniest, most sarcastic man I've ever met in my entire life, or B, he's actually crazy. And I thought it was a bit. I thought that he was playing a bit the whole time. It wasn't until he started telling me that his girlfriend, Kendall Jenner, was speaking to him through the Lyft notifications and through the street signs, that I was like, wait, what the fuck is happening right now? And this was, I'm not going to say it was a long little Lyft ride. This was a long Lyft drive, okay? And the whole time I'm trying to decide if he's being funny, if he's joking around with me, or if he legitimately believes that he is dating Kendall Jenner, right? I don't know. So whatever. I end up safely at my car. I call one of my friends and I'm like, okay, I need to explain this to you, because I can't tell if I just got punked. Like, if this guy is just like having a bit and I just completely missed the bit, or like, I don't know. And then my friend was like, Haley, that it sounds like he was schizophrenic. And then I was like, oh, well, shoot. I don't know. I'm not gonna say I've never interacted with a schizophrenic person before, because it's like I have, but I don't know. It was just weird, you guys. It was really, 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 really weird. And I don't want to say like that mental health things are weird or anything of that sort. I just think like after the travel day that I had, I just genuinely could not wrap. It's just, guys, imagine me sitting in the back of an Uber trying to just be like, okay, does this guy legitimately think he's dating Kendall Jenner? Or is it a bit? Like, at one point, I was 100% certain that he thought it was a bit. And so I was like, oh my God, I bet like Bad Bunny like had like people come after you. And he was like, no, like he did. And then I was like, oh shit, wait, am I feeding into? I don't even know. And like, I don't even know if talking about this is disrespectful. I do not at all mean to be, I do not want to be disrespectful to anyone and what they're going through. Because trust me, I have had my fair share of battles with demons in my head. But it was just awful. And I was scared, honestly, the whole drive. And then I got home and I feel like I've been metaphorically staring at a wall for hours, trying to just recoup and process, because also my trip was so fun and amazing, and like there's so many things to like digest. But I'm just like, one second, let me just fucking shake off that 24-hour experience. Fuck, bro. You know? Woo. Okay, now that I've ranted about my travel day, let's just dive into the thoughts that I had while I was in Canada. And I'm going to be honest, the majority of these thoughts don't really have much to do with Canada. They just have more to do with my random thoughts, because let's be honest, I have so many of them, okay? First and foremost, when arriving in Canada, I don't know why I like calling it that. When arriving in Canada, I noticed a few things. Number one, it didn't feel like home, which makes sense. But I don't know why I thought Canada would feel like home. Part of me, I think, has been looking for like another place to possibly move to, but then the issue is that no place feels like home, like San Diego. Anyways, irrelevant. So Canada did not feel like home. It was a little bit dirtier than I expected it to be. There was like a lot of graffiti, trash on the sidewalk. Overall, it just seemed a little bit more run down than I thought that it would. I don't know. I went to Montreal, so it's not like I went to Banff. You know, like at Banff, I would expect like that type of Canada. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't quite that. Okay? And also, the things that I'm going to be talking about this episode are not going to be in chronological... Bleh. Oh my God. They're not going to be in chronological order. It's just like literally the most random things. Maybe I am sensitive to weed. This is a thought that occurred to me while in Canada, because basically I went to this music festival. It was a 3-day festival called Osheaga with my brother and his best friends, and then my roommate and best friend, Megan Lilly, who you all know and love. We all went to this music festival, okay? And day 2 of the festival, everyone was like, all right, what if we, smoke a little weed, right? It's legal here, it's legal there, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like, I'll take one hit of a little J. Yeah, I'll take a little puff. Yeah, it didn't go well. It didn't go well. Everyone else was fine, but I wasn't. I was so fried off of my ass that I had to go to the back of the festival and lay down in the grass for 4 hours. Like 4 hours just looking like a dead body in the grass because my breathing was so slow. So I've decided that I might be sensitive to weed. I'm not quite sure. I don't really like it that much, so I probably will not be testing it out. But I think that I am sensitive to weed. Another thing. I'm feeling older. It's official. And I talked about this last episode, and I don't want to beat a dead horse and be like, oh my God, I'm getting older. But like, I am starting to feel a little bit older. At the festival, I was looking around and I was like, damn, like you can kind of tell who's in college. And then I was like, oh shit, like I'm not in college anymore. Also, Dominic Fike has a baby. Like that made me feel old as fuck. Like I know he's like 28, 29 or something. I know he is of the age to have a child. And I know theoretically, I'm 22. I could have a child if I'd wanted to have had one. And if that would have been my life path. Whatever. It's like I know that I'm old enough for these things, but it made me feel old. Because in my head, I don't know, I feel like we're all frozen at like 20. And we're not old enough to have kids or get married or do things like that. But I guess we are. And I also guess that Dominic Fike is like 7 years older than me. So, you know, he really is. He can do whatever he wants. But that was shocking. I won't lie. Like that was probably the thing that had me the most sad after the whole weekend, okay? Another thing. I thought about how there has to be less emotional security for musicians when they are performing at a festival, because I feel like all of these artists were coming on stage and they would be like, hey, like, I don't know if you're here to see me or not, but if you are, that's amazing, and like if you don't know me, like no worries, you're probably just standing around for whoever's up next. And I was like, damn, I can't imagine like how nerve-wracking it would be to go up and perform in front of that many like thousands of people, but then to just know that they probably aren't even there for you. And to just have like a crowd of people who don't know your song just like staring at you, versus like if you're an artist and you have your own concert, you know at least that like these people signed up to see you. So it's like they're expecting you. They're relatively prepared. You know, they're probably going to be singing along, better vibes. I feel like I would be shitting my brains if I were an artist on stage at a music festival. More so than if it were my own concert. All right? Separate note, I felt safe in Canada. I felt very, very, very safe in this country. Despite my Airbnb, it wasn't in the best location. It didn't look safe to the naked eye, but I spent a lot of time walking around it, and I genuinely never felt unsafe. Except in the Ubers. The Uber drivers were extremely aggressive, but also hilarious. Aggressive, but hilarious. I don't know. The coffee was phenomenal. I went to Tim Hortons like every day, and I guess Tim Hortons is like the Canadian version of Starbucks. And so when I heard that at first, I was like, okay, I have low expectations. Because in my opinion, Starbucks is very mediocre. I'm not the biggest fan of Starbucks. It's fine. It's nothing crazy. But when I went into Tim Hortons and I ordered my little vanilla latte with oat milk, I was so pleasantly surprised by it. I would rate it an 8 out of 10 on the scale. So big fan of that. Another thing I noticed, thought about this, generally every single person was annoyed by me when I spoke. Which I don't think happens here. And I think what it was people were just annoyed that I was American and that I didn't really know French, because I would just be like, bonjour, merci, and then they would just laugh at me. I'm not kidding. They would look at me and they would laugh at me. And, you know, for the most part, I think I'm so smiley and, like, bubbly that, like, people would be like, oh, okay. But sometimes they would literally just stare at me and be really annoyed and be like, whatever, and then walk away. Or they'd just be like, no. And I've never really experienced that because, you know, like, being a blonde in Southern California, I'm not going to say life is easy socially for me, but generally people are pretty receptive to me and my Americanness and lack of French knowledge. All right. What else? Oh, the thought that I have had no original experiences. And I had this thought while I was watching Olivia Rodrigo perform, okay? Because I'm in the crowd and I'm so excited for Olivia Rodrigo because I went through a breakup in 2020 when she released whatever her first Purple album was with Driver's License. And so I was stoked because that album, seriously, like, oh my God, I like screamed saying that album for probably like 6 months. So I was excited to see her. Audience was huge, packed, like probably the busiest crowd of the whole weekend was for Olivia Rodrigo. And I was right next to like all of these men. And during her set, they were singing her songs, like so passionately belting it out. And it was like, I could feel the pain. Like I could feel how hurt they were. And I was like, damn, like I really have had no original experience. Like this guy, Jerry, next to me has experienced heartbreak to the same degree that I have. And so has this mom next to me and this toddler who is for some reason knowing all of the words. Like we collectively are just all going through the same shit at different times. And this was also exacerbated while I was watching Cage the Elephant. Can I give it up for Cage the Elephant? They get snaps because, like, goddamn, they're amazing. I was just realizing, like, how important our humanness is. I think sometimes I get so used to feeling detached from everyone that I forget how special it is when you all come together and just feel human. And I think this was really brought out to me this trip because I feel like so many people were just opening up to me. And I feel like I was opening up to them, and like I wasn't on my phone because I was, experiencing a music festival. And it just felt so real. I want to talk about this human experience that I had on my flight to Canada from San Diego. My flight to Canada was a direct flight, so it was like 6 hours. And my roommate and I were on the same flight, but her seat buddy didn't want to give up his seat to let us sit together. So I had to sit next to a stranger, and I was next to this really old... Okay, I don't want to say he was really old. That sounds rude, but he was pretty old. I was next to a pretty old man. Okay? And we sit down. Pretty quickly, I realized he's a yapper, which is fine. I did want to journal on this flight, but I was like, you know what? I'll chat with this old man for a little bit, and then it'll fade out. It'll be fine. So this guy, he's probably 70 or 80. I'm just going to say that. He's pretty old. He starts asking me about my family, okay? And then my mom comes up in conversation, to which I have to say, like, oh, yeah, like, she's not around anymore. And then he was like, oh, my God, what happened? He's, like, asking me questions about my mom. And the thing is, like, I am relatively an open book. People just usually don't ask because it makes them uncomfortable. So I don't really talk about it unless it's brought up, but he was asking questions, and so I was answering, And, I'm like, she struggled with, like, addiction and mental health and some other things. And then he looks at me. He was such an empath. He looks at me, and he was like, I'm an alcoholic, and, like, I've been in recovery, and I lost my son to alcoholism. And then I just look at him, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And he was just like, no, like, it's okay. And then he starts telling me his whole life story. And he starts telling me about how he was adopted and his mom had gotten pregnant by a pilot who was married, and he didn't want anything to do with her or the child. And back then, it was a huge no-no to have a child out of marriage. And so his mom, like, moved to New York City just to have him and give him up for adoption in secret. And then he got adopted, and then eventually he went to find his adopted family, and he found them. He, like, hired, like, a private investigator to go find his family, and they found him, and he got in touch with them, and he found out that he had siblings. And he was talking to me about the first time that he met his siblings. I think he said it was, like, recent, like 10 years ago or something. he just like broke down crying. And then he started crying to me on the plane. Like his voice cracked and he looked away and he was like wiping his eyes and he was just like, I'm so sorry. Like, this is just making me really emotional. And then I start crying because he's crying to me. And he was just like, I never really feel this comfortable talking about things this serious. Like, you're really special. Like, you've been through a lot. And then he's just gassing me up. He's just like, you are so special. And like, if you don't have a boyfriend yet, like, you're going to find one. And like, he is going to see you right away because you are just absolutely amazing. And I truly have never felt like this connected to someone in my entire life. And like, if you ever want free food, like, I own a restaurant. It's always on me. Like, this man, I don't know. And he was just, it was just so special because he shared his story with me and I shared my story with him. And it just felt good to be seen. And I feel like that's something that I don't experience a lot here. And I don't think a lot of us really experience anymore because we're so disconnected from one another. We're so invested in our phones and in surface level relationships that we forget how good it feels to be seen. And somewhere along the way, I got into this headspace that I shouldn't share deep experiences about me or my life because it's too much for other people, or like it's too personal, and like that's my stuff that only my closest friends and family should know. But I think that I was reminded by Larry from my flight to Canada is that the power that we have is in our stories and in our ability to share them and create that opportunity to connect with somebody else. Because while it is true that we could share our story and be rejected, or it couldn't land, or maybe people won't understand and we won't feel seen, that's a possibility. But the potential for connection is so much greater. And I think that it's so much more important. I feel like this was like the deepest human connection I have felt, like outside of like Megan and like my ex-boyfriend in like years. Like, it was so special, and I feel like it inspired me to try and maybe open up a little bit more to people and try and really let people know me, and also to just share my story, to be like, I don't know, I mean, I've definitely been through some really, really, really deep, painful shit. Deep shit. Like, I've been through shit, and I think sometimes I forget that. And I think sometimes people just see me and they assume that, you know, I'm probably superficial and like I only go so deep, or like, I don't know. And I just think like there's so much more to me than I think people know, and it's because I don't really let it be known, because I don't know, I think just connecting with people is hard now. Even today, like, I was sitting in the airport waiting for my fucking flight, and I was looking around and every single person was on their phone. Every single person, like, no one was talking to one another. And then I was comparing it to when I was in Canada at the festival. Like, no one was really on their phone except to, like, take a few videos and pictures. And at one point there was this, like, torrential downpour where we all had to, like, run for cover. And it's, like, so many people just crammed together under this tent. And, like, all of us together, like, none of us were on our phones. We just started to talk to one another. And then we all, like, hundreds of people just started singing, like, our own songs. Like, we were just singing together, and it was so human. It was so human, and I think I miss feeling human, which is crazy because that's literally the only thing that I am. Like, all I am is human. So why is it so rare? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how I can incorporate that into my life here in San Diego, because before I left for Canada, I was feeling pretty stagnant with San Diego. I was like, maybe I want to move. Maybe I want to, I don't know, just flee the country. And what's nice about, I think, getting out for like a week and then coming back and having those amazing experiences is just recognizing the power that I have to create that within my own life. I think a lot of times I think that the power to change my life is outside of my control. Like in getting a new job or in getting the opportunity to live abroad. But it's like, first of all of that is up to me and my actions. And beyond that, if I'm seeking deeper human connection, then I have to start with myself. Like, I have to open myself up for that deeper human connection. And I think I've been pretty closed off the last couple years. And I think I'm finally feeling ready to like be open and allow myself to be known and maybe even get to know new parts of myself. Yeah. Anyways, another random thing I noticed in Canada was that the food was a lot less salty. Which it was good, but it was just less salty. There's so many fries also. I was like, I'm from Idaho and I've literally never seen this many fries in my entire life. Like, there were so many fucking fries. Another thing. Let's see. Ugh. The potential that we all have, but how often we settle for what is realistic. And I was thinking about this a lot when it comes to like all of these musicians. Like, they're all like on stage and they're all talking about how they're so grateful to be here and how like if only like the younger version of themselves could see this. And it reminded me that, I don't know, like, to be famous, like to be a musician, to be an actress, to be a painter, to be a podcaster, to be a TikToker, like whatever the fuck your dream is, like your true dream, the dream that's like such your dream that you don't even want to admit it to yourself that that's your dream because it scares you, that's possible. And it's not like you're not special enough to reach that potential, but it's that you were told so many times that you had to be realistic and that you weren't special enough that you started believing it and you forgot your potential. And I don't know, that I think reignited my passion for my hobbies and remembering that it's so good to have dreams and it's so good to be chasing something greater than a career. Unless that's what you want. Some people, it is their dream to work in 9-to-5 corporate America. I have learned that. It isn't mine, and I don't think that it's the majority of ours. I think the majority of ours, I think we have really big dreams. And I think 99% of us talk ourselves out of it. But if you're listening, I want you to know that you are special enough to make your dreams happen. You just have to believe that you deserve it. And honestly, that's the hardest fucking part. That's the hottest motherfucking part right there. I feel like I struggle with feeling like I deserve literally the bare minimum sometimes. So it's crazy to imagine that I can be like, okay, like, but do I deserve like that amount of financial abundance and that level of success and that level of recognition? And if you want it, you do. And if I want it, I do. And we just gotta get to that point where we can believe it. think I'm gonna leave it there. I yapped, I complained, I said all my fucking random thoughts. I'm excited to be back. Happy that I got a little break there. And I love you. If you're listening to this, sincerely, I do. And I mean that because I am human and you are human. And that's enough for me. So, I'll talk to you guys next week. Goodbye.